Oh la 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 la. Bam bam. Oh la 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 la. Bam bam. Oh la 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 la. Bam bam. Oh la 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 la. Big it up. Oh la 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 la. Big it up. Oh la 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 la. Bam bam. Bir ba 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 bir ba bir de. Bir ba ba ba. Bir ba mi de. Bir ba 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 bir ba 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 bir ba mi de. Bir ba ba ba.
Greetings to everyone. Welcome to Home and Away Jamaica. With this episode, we're going to talk to somebody from the UK about investing in Jamaica. Today, I will be presenting with our finance broker, Karla Henry. We're co-hosting the show, and my name is Paulette Price. So even though Sharon, our guest, is from the UK, a lot of the questions that she will ask, I'm sure will apply to people who are in other parts of the diaspora. So I'd like to welcome Sharon. And Sharon, if you just tell us a little bit about yourself, and you can go ahead and ask us the questions that you need to ask us.
Oh, hi everybody. I'm Sharon.
Sharon.
Hi everyone. I'm in my 40s or early 40s, and I really wanted to see if I could invest in Jamaica as a sort of long-term plan, and also because I have family, my grandparents and my parents are also now in Jamaica. So it's really just me wanting to see what I can do to invest now for a long-term goal.
That sounds great.
I do have some questions for you. These are, the first question I had was really, what's the best place in Jamaica to invest in property? That was one of my first questions.
Okay, so let's take them question at a time.
Okay.
So whenever people ask me that question, I always have to say to you, it really depends on, are you going to live in the house? Are you wanting to buy the property to do rentals, or we'll say short-term rentals for now, we won't use the word Airbnb. What size property do you want? Basically, if you're going to live here, what sort of lifestyle are you going to live? Where do your family live? Do you want to be near your family, or do you want to be in the same place as your family? So it really does actually depend. So I would then turn the question back to you and just ask you, like, where do you want to be close to your family, and where do they live in Jamaica?
I think initially, as it's because it's just investment purposes,
Right.
as a short term, I wouldn't be, wherever it is in Jamaica, where it's going to generate, I guess, in terms of a sort of financial income, I don't really have a preference. However, long term, when I hopefully do return or hopefully go to Jamaica to live, I'd ideally want to be closer to my family who are currently in Otrius, that area, Runaway
Right.
Bay. So
Okay.
yeah.
So I would then say to you, those are actually good areas to buy investment properties, because as you know, those are like the tourist hotspots. So that would be a good idea. So you could start off with a studio, a 1-bedroom, even a 2-bedroom. All right. So if you're going to live in it, though, you have to look at it with different eyes. You don't have to have one property. You could have more than one. So you might want to start with something small, and then when you come to get your second property, you go for something a little bit bigger, and then that would be the property that you would live in.
Right. Okay.
Okay? Because as you know, people who, for example, there's so many hotel workers that need somewhere to live. There are other businesses, lots and lots of businesses in that area. People need places to live. So those are good areas to start in.
Right. Okay. That's fine. I mean, I did because my sort of family live in that area anyway.
Right.
It would be, sort of good. At least I know someone who's familiar with the area. So, and it'd be close. So as I said, long term, that would be good for when I then possibly want to then live there myself. So, okay.
Right. So then my next question would be to you is, how are you going to finance it? So this is where now Karla would probably come in.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
In terms of financing, it depends on, really similar to what Paulette was saying, whether you're going to be living there or you're going to be renting it out, leasing it out, whatever the term you want to use. Because there are different parameters for getting financing for that. First of all, once you're a Jamaican national, which I'm guessing you are, whether you're born in Jamaica or not, but if you're have Jamaican parentage and we can verify that, you can borrow up to 90% of the selling price or the market value, whichever of those two figures is the lowest. Depending on the country that you're in, usually the three main countries right now would be the US, Canada, and UK. You can borrow in any of those currencies, or you can borrow in Jamaican dollars.
Okay.
In a Jamaican dollar loan, which most people tend to borrow in, the interest rates vary between 6.95% if you're going to be living there, up to 8% if you're not going to be living there.
Right. Okay.
All right. If you're not a Jamaican, if you're a non-Jamaican national, then you can only borrow up to 70% of the selling price or market value, whichever is the lowest.
Okay. Yeah.
And the term of the loan is established by your current age in the year that you're applying for the loan minus 70. So if you're 40, then you can get a 30-year mortgage. If you're 50, you can get a 20-year mortgage.
Okay.
That's how it works.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that was one of my questions.
I know.
No,
So that's why I'm telling you. Yes.
Okay.
Because a lot of people overseas in the diaspora think that you can just get a blanket 30 years, no matter what age you are. It doesn't work that way here.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
That's what I initially thought, but I wasn't sure. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And currently, my company, Lead Mortgage Brokers, we do mortgages primarily from Victoria Mutual and Jamaica National and a couple of other banks, but those are the two main ones that we work with, and I know that you have them in the UK as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That sort of leads me on to another question I had regarding NHT.
Okay, with NHT, are you contributing to NHT? Once you're a contributor to NHT, then you can access your NHT benefit if it is your first property that this is the first time that your name is going to be appearing on title. If your name appears on title, like for instance, your parents left you a property, you will not be able to get your full benefit. You can only get, I think it's 2.5 million out of the 6.5 that you can get.
Right. If my name already exists on a title.
On title. Right.
Okay.
And especially they will sometimes make an exception, but you have to write to them and let them know, because sometimes parents from when you were little put your name on the house and the parents are still living in the house. So you're not benefiting from it from like rental income or anything like that. They just put it on it from when you were a little girl.
Yeah.
So you can apply to NHT, write a letter to their customer service. I think it's there in the manager of the customer service area, and tell them the situation. Usually you may have to send them a copy of the title and tell them the situation, asking for an exemption that you are now buying your first home and you would like to access your full benefit.
Okay.
But you must be, I don't know a lot of the policies of NHT where it comes to how long you need to be contributing before you can access the benefit. But if you have been consistently contributing for at least the last 12 months, you can access your benefit as long as you meet the other criteria.
Right. Okay. And then, so how does that then work in terms of the mortgage?
Oh, we'll do that for you, because the banks have an agreement with NHT. So we can do the NHT part, so the NHT amount, that portion of the loan will be at the NHT rate, which is currently at 4%. And it varies. It depends on your they will tell us what rate to use depending on your income and whatever. But the highest rate that NHT is charging is 4%. So we do that, and then the other portion of the loan is at the bank's rate, which was between the 6.95 up to 8.5, depending on what use is your property will be, whether it's residential or it's an investment property.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yes. A lot
And
to
I
think
just wanted
about.
to say, so I just wanted to add to that, that the great thing about that service is that you don't have to go to NHT and then go to the
Correct.
bank. So it
Yeah.
just makes the service for you really great.
Right.
No, but let me add a little piece in that, Paulette and Sharon. If you are contributing as a self-employed person, or you're not contributing to your company, like your employee, the only thing they have to go to NHT for, which we cannot do, is you have to get what is called a compliance certificate, or the certificate of compliance, which you have to approach their compliance department, and they will give you that certificate, which you will give to us or the lending institution to now process your NHT loan.
Right. Okay.
Because
Okay.
if you were an employed person here contributing through your employer, then you wouldn't have to go to NHT at all.
Right.
But once you're making your own contributions, you have to go to the compliance department. We can't do that for you.
Okay. Which
Yeah.
in my case which would obviously be the case for me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My advice to you would just be to really email them and let them know ask them what is the process for somebody outside of the country to get their compliance certificate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've got some other questions. Should I ask them?
Yeah, man, go ahead.
Okay.
Keep the flow going. Yeah.
This might seem a bit, I don't know, an obvious sort of question, but do they credit score you in
Yes. Oh,
Jamaica?
yes. Oh, absolutely. You have to pull your own credit report, though. We don't have that ability to do that from Jamaica. So anybody outside of Jamaica has to pull their own credit report, and it has to have a score. Which bureau do you use in the UK?
It's Equifax.
It's Equifax.
Yeah.
So your credit score needs to be, I think it's the minimum of 650. So your the report that you send to us when we're doing the actual mortgage application must be a detailed credit report with the score.
Okay.
So yes, we do. Yeah. And also, yes, and also what banks are doing is that once you're a Jamaican national, they also want to pull a credit report for you locally. Once you have a TRN, they are going to, part of the requirement is that we also pull your local credit report. Even though you may not have any credit, we're still going to ask you to pull it. We will pull it, but you have to pay for it.
Right. And how much is that?
1,850 Jamaican.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. But we do ask for you. Yeah. Can't get away from that anymore.
Oh, so before could you do
long ago?
Okay. Okay.
All right. So do you have another question, or do you want me to?
I had, in terms of gated community, sort of community properties. I think call it gated community. Is there any sort of hidden cost if you want to buy a property?
That's a very good question. They're not hidden costs, but there are, which a lot of people don't always take into consideration. Okay. So, strata, we call it a strata here, but you and I from the UK, we know it as a service charge. It's exactly the same thing. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So, there's no point coming to Jamaica and saying, I'm not paying maintenance, when you know that when you're in your leasehold property in the UK, you have to pay your service charge.
Very true, right? Yes.
Exactly. So you've got your service charge, we'll call it, but it's really maintenance. You've got your land tax still you have to pay, right? Okay. You pay your own utilities, and you have a strata management, right? Which at the end of the day, it's really, really important to be involved in that. Very important, because that's where all the decisions are made about how the property is managed. So it's important. Don't just say, oh yeah, it's up to them, I don't have to be involved, because it's your property as well. You all jointly own it. All right? So when you're buying a property, the real estate agent will go through that with you. So that's something that I do. I make sure I tell you all the things that are necessary. The only thing with buying into a new development, the developer will give you a rough idea of what the maintenance will be. But when you start running the place, when you start living in the place, sometimes you find that the cost will go up. Some developments will have an additional thing called a cess, which is where you put money in that pot for painting the building or if the roof goes, but that's not really going to happen in the very beginning. So as time goes on and you get more and more involved with your strata, you vote for things, and there is a strata act. So there, you have to follow the rules. There's a law that says if you don't pay your maintenance, okay, we'll give you a chance to pay it. We'll sit and speak with you. But also, if you decide I'm not paying and time goes on, the last resort is they can actually sell your property and get their maintenance, and then they'll give you back the balance. So it's very important to understand that.
Right. So is the strata like a committee is it people, the owners
it's
of
people,
the property?
yeah, it's the owners the owners come together. Sometimes what happens is the strata or the people who own it decide, well, we don't want to manage it ourselves because we can't, we don't want to run we don't want to do finance inside of it, for example, whatever. You can employ a property manager, or you can employ a company to manage the complex. But it's a decision made by all of you. You all vote on it.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But it's very important. And there is a difference between developments here or complexes, and as we call them, an estate in the UK. The difference is in the UK, we are leaseholders. We only own the four walls. We don't own anything else. Whereas in Jamaica, you own the freehold. So you own your four walls, but jointly you own the common areas, what we call the common areas. Okay?
Right. Okay.
So you are a freeholder. That's something that they wanted to introduce in the UK. It is there, but it's very limited. Not very many places do that.
Yeah, I've never heard of that here in the UK. So
Yeah.
Okay.
A long time ago they talked about it, but it's not done in a big way in the UK.
Right. Okay. I think that's been very helpful because it's something I didn't know and wasn't aware of.
Yes.
So
Very important to understand it as well. Very important.
yeah. Well, thank you. I think that was sort of my main questions I had, really.
All right.
Yeah, I think there actually was one more, just really, in terms of the types of property. I think you may have mentioned it or touched on it before, depending on what I want to do. But generally speaking, do townhouses do better in terms of when you want to rent it rather than sort of like a...
No, I think apartments do better. Do
Okay.
better. Yeah, they rent a lot quicker. So we don't have a lot of studios, but we do. We do have studios, but not a lot. 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. 2 bedrooms seem to rent a lot quicker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So another thing that I also wanted to tell you is that when buying a property in the in Jamaica, it's always important to work with the professionals. We say this on every show that we do. Work with the professionals. I'd like to say it at the beginning, but I didn't. But I'm going to say it in the middle, or you work at the end. So when you're doing your financing, you work with the professionals like Karla, because she will tell you the laws, the rules, the things that can go wrong. If you make this decision, this is what will happen. If you're working with a real estate agent, we guide you. So first of all, we are licensed, right? We can't function without being licensed. So we do something wrong, we'll lose our license, we'll lose our livelihood.
Sure.
All right? So we make sure we do things properly. All right. So when you work with us as well, we have it's no different from in the UK, KYC, know your clients. So before you can do any business with me, I have to receive your TRN, your tax registration number. You go to the tax office and you get that. It doesn't take more than 20 minutes. And I know people say all kinds of things. Oh, you'll be waiting in the line for however long. TRNs don't take that long. Very quick to get. Then I need a copy of your ID, a photo ID, a government issued ID. So that's a driving license, your passport, voter's registration like we have in Jamaica, but something with your photo, and it must have a valid date on it. We also need to know a proof of address. We need to know that you really live where you say you live. So what we need is a copy of a utility bill. Same thing in the UK. You can't open an account now in the UK without a utility bill.
Yes,
right?
It's very true.
So, right, and then we have a form called a customer information form. It's really a basic form, not difficult to complete, just a bit of information about you. All right, so once we have all of that information, we then make sure we have your finances sorted out. Once your finances are sorted out, we can then go shopping. So we then go looking. Because when I submit your offer, I must have your pre-approval or your proof of funds if it's a cash purchase.
Right, okay.
Right?
Yep. No, that's
And then,
All right. Let me jump in right after.
okay.
Similar to what Paulette just said, in terms of getting a mortgage, the basic part just for the front end of a mortgage application is the pre-approval, pre-qualification process. And that process, we have a conversation with you first, and then we're going to need you to declare what your income is via whether it is your pay slips. If you're self-employed, it would be through your financials for your business, tax returns, also your credit report, as we had discussed earlier. Because that process, what we're doing is analyzing or reviewing your income and expenses to make sure that you can qualify for the amount of loan that you desire. And let you know what, and we also let you know what your payback will be, and all of those little pieces. Another piece I wanted to put in there is Jamaica does not have fixed rates on our mortgages. So the rates are variable. However, the more traditional mortgage lenders like Jamaica National and Victoria Mutual tend not to, once you get a rate, not to trouble the rate. I'm going to use that word, or move it up or down. It's usually, if the rate goes up, it's usually the new loans that are coming in that will get that current market rate. Right. However, if the rates go down, they don't have to lower your rate. But what I advise my clients, if they are good paying customers, you're paying your mortgage on time every month, you can request and say, I've been a good customer, can you reduce my rate to the lower rate? But they do have the right to give you a 30-day notice to increase your rate. But I have not seen it happen. But I'm just letting you know that we don't offer fixed rates. Okay. Some banks just to get you in, may say to you, okay, we'll fix your rate for 1 year, and then it's up to the market rate. And that market rate may be really high, because once you get locked in on the mortgage for that 1 year reprieve, after that, I can't guarantee anything for you. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Okay. So do they? I know it's also I've seen things like closing.
Oh, the closing costs?
Yes. What is that?
I don't know. You can kind of guide me with this. In Jamaica, the closing costs, sorry, Paulette, is we have to collect that up front. And that it varies depending on the loan amount that you're borrowing. Because your closing costs, you have a set of costs that you share with the vendor, plus your attorney costs if you're using an attorney, which is advisable. And then you have the mortgage closing costs. And pretty much your closing costs can run you for the mortgage. It can be between 5 and 7% of the loan amount, plus what you would pay to. Paulette can guide you on that side.
I'll guide, yes. I'll do that
on what that percentage is like. But in Jamaica, we collect our closing costs up front. And the real reason behind that is that in the past, you could just come in towards the closing of the transaction and pay your money. But most times people just don't have the money. They've gotten so excited, spend off the money, and then we can't close the transaction. So it is now part of the policy that we must collect the closing costs up front. And it is put in the account at the bank that's issuing the mortgage, and they put a hold on it so you cannot access it and spend it off.
Okay.
That's how it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we do as the real estate agent as well is talk to you about closing costs, but we don't talk to you about the mortgage closing costs, because like Karla's just explained that. But what we would say to you is, obviously, there's a percentage for the deposit. That's very important, because sometimes people maybe approve, let's say for 10 million, but they don't have their deposit, but they can afford to repay the 10 million. It's very important that we tell you that in the first place. So before the stamp duty and transfer tax were reduced, we used to say to people, make sure you have a 10% of your 10 million, let's say.
Right.
Now, because of the reduction, it's 5%. But what we refer to as closing costs is things like your valuation, your survey, your attorney's fees plus GCT. GCT is like VAT.
Okay.
It can be there's not lot more other costs in there. So it would be like the cost of the sales agreement, the cost of registering the documents and things like that. So that can add up to a little percentage of about, say, 3 or 4% of what you're buying property for. Okay. It used to be higher before we had the reduction. So we're glad that we had the reductions.
Okay.
But for a seller, obviously, it's more money because you then add on the realtor's fees and things like that. So it's a lot easier to buy properties now. I think it's not, you can get better value for money. I think because you don't have as much costs.
Yes.
And what you do when I then find that property for you, you put in your offer. You then need an attorney, another professional. Not somebody who's a cousin or a friend or whatever. We need you to work with a proper conveyancing attorney, because what I do when you sign the dotted line, I don't just sit back and then wait for my commission. I'm one of those agents who will be constantly talking with you in the background. So I'll say to you, for example, I'll explain to you that once you've signed your sales agreement, which is a legally binding document, you pay your deposit at that time to your attorney. Your attorney will then be guiding you through the steps. Your attorney will advise you as to when you do the valuation, as to when you do the survey. But I'm still in the background and I'll say, have those things been done? Sometimes I may have to even open up the property for those professionals to come and do their jobs. So that's the reason why I like to still stay involved in the whole transaction. Sometimes if you're not sure about something, I'm not an attorney, so I won't be giving you legal advice. But if you're unsure about something, I'll say, well, I can check that out for you. Or I will say to you, speak to your attorney. Sometimes I even speak to the attorneys. So, we're constantly communicating as you go through the process. Okay?
And that's really good. That's reassuring, because I know for me, myself, I don't really know the process and I'm not there in Jamaica. So that's really reassuring, actually, and good to know for somebody like me, I think. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
But just to reiterate on what Paul had said and the importance of working with professionals, because a lot of our Jamaicans overseas tend to involve their family and friends who don't know anything, and also be sending them monies to do certain things, and it never gets done. Don't do that. Don't fall for that. I don't care how close you are with family or whatever. We have heard too many stories, and it's really sad when you have saved your money and you have this dream for your home, and your family or friends, close friends, have just messed you out. And then and especially if you're in the middle of a transaction and funds are needed for your closing costs or something else, and we can't get it done because this person has run off with it or whatever. So really work with professionals, work with people who have been in the business a long time. I've been in the business for at least 13 years. And I'm pretty well known throughout the industry. And same with Paulette, and even our attorney who's a part of our group. He's not here as well, Robert Taylor. From Taylor Law. We have been doing this for a long time. And I just can't reiterate, and especially in these times where everybody is trying to do something, right? To just really, exactly. Exactly. So just pay attention to that, and really at the end of the day, protect your business and speak to the right people. And if you're unsure, because we all have an intuition, if you're unsure about something, ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good advice.
And one other thing, Jamaica is not as backwards as people like to imply, right? So let's just say you have your 2-bedroom apartment and you're not renting it right now, but you still have to pay some of the bills. You have to pay your water, NWC. You may have to pay some little service charge for JPS, got to pay your land tax. We do these things online. You don't have to send money to anybody.
Yeah, see, that's the way I know of it. Yeah, that's the way I know how things how I thought things are done anyway.
You can do
between
online.
And between Victoria Mutual and Jamaica National, once you have an account with them, you can do all of those things for your property online, because they offer bill payment services online.
Okay.
So you don't have to depend on anybody. You can control it from right where you are.
Which is good. Yeah.
Yes.
Sense of security. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And at least it has been done.
Exactly. Exactly.
Very true.
So,
very true.
So I'm hoping that we've answered all your questions. I don't know if you have anything else that's come up since we've been telling you new things that you probably hadn't thought about.
There was something else actually. It's regarding land. Would you suggest land is better now in this current climate to buy than property? Does it make any difference, or is it just dependent on what you want to do? I don't know.
It goes back to what you want to do.
Okay.
And we've done an episode on working with contractors and architects in terms of building. So you need to listen to that program. That one was very good. But it really just depends on what you want to do. Some people say, well, I'm going to buy a piece of land just to hold it there. But what I don't like with that situation is that sometimes people just leave the land, it's all overgrown. They create little hotspots for little people to hang out, and it makes the area look
shabby
and untidy. If you're going to buy the land and you keep it, maintain it. Don't just leave it there. Look after it. You could lose it as well, because people could squat on it and then you lose it. That's another program to talk about.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, it just really depends on what you want to do. So what you need to start off by doing is making a plan.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So you say, right, I'm going to do X have a short-term, medium-term, long-term plan. What works best in that plan? Should I buy land? Should I start off with a small unit? You really have to have a plan.
Yes.
Because we don't know what you really want to do yet. We don't know when you're going to eventually get here. Sometimes we say, right, I'm going to buy a property and I'm going to get mum and dad to look at it, but mum and dad are getting on. So you don't want to put that kind of pressure on them either. So you really do have to have a plan.
Yeah. No, totally. I agree.
Yeah.
So I've got to start thinking then. Get my plan together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not difficult. It's not difficult because the professionals are here. It's another area that I don't know, or Karla doesn't know, or even Robert doesn't know. Trust me, we know somebody who can. You know that saying in England.
Yes.
I don't know. We know somebody who can.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
And we're going to give you to somebody that we know that they've proven to us that they work just like us. We're not just going to give you a name for the sake of the names, because that's our reputation as well.
Yes.
That we're putting at risk.
Okay. No, that's been very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, you're definitely welcome. So if you think of any other questions, please feel free to email us.
Okay, I will do. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you very much, Sharon.
Thank you, Karla.
Great having you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, na 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 na.